The sky above Earth was still dark with smoke 6 months after the Centauri attack. From the viewing window of Orbital Station 7, Captain John Miller watched the endless field of debris that used to be humanity's defense fleet. Twisted metal fragments and shattered hull pieces drifted silently against the backdrop of his blue home planet, his planet that had nearly fallen. John's hands tightened on the railing as he remembered the day his ship, the U.S. Defender, broke apart around him. He had managed to get most of his crew to escape pods before the main reactor went critical. Many other captains hadn't been so lucky. "Captain Miller, they're waiting for you in Bay 12, said a young officer behind him. John nodded and turned away from the view. He walked through the dimly lit corridors of the station. Power was still being rationed. The Centauri attack had destroyed most of Earth's orbital infrastructure, leaving only a handful of facilities operational. Bay 12 was a large salvage sorting area. When John entered, he saw piles of recovered ship parts, weapons, and technology spread across the massive floor. Some pieces he recognized from Earth vessels. Others had the strange, curved design of Centauri technology. 5 people stood near a makeshift table made from a flat piece of hull plating. They turned as John approached. "Captain Miller," said Admiral Pete Garcia, his face looking older than his 60 years. "Thank you for coming." John saluted. "You didn't give me much choice, sir." The Admiral almost smiled. "No, I suppose I didn't." He gestured to the woman beside him. "This is Dr. Olivia Reyes. She has an idea I think you should hear." Olivia was tall with dark hair pulled back tightly. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent. "Captain," she said, extending her hand, "I've studied your combat record against the Centauri. Impressive work." "Not impressive enough," John replied, shaking her hand. "We still lost." "The first battle," Olivia corrected, "not the war." The Admiral introduced the others. Lieutenant Commander Sam Nelson, a tactical systems specialist with a serious face and careful eyes. Chief Petty Officer Grace Harper, an older woman with short gray hair and hands that showed years of mechanical work, and Major Ben Foster, a Marine who stood with perfect posture despite the visible scar running down his neck. "Intelligence reports give us 5 years before the Centauri return to finish what they started," the Admiral said, pointing to a datapad. 5 years to prepare." John looked around at the scattered salvage. "With what? We lost 80% of our fleet. Our shipyards are destroyed. Our best weapons couldn't even penetrate their shields." Olivia stepped forward. "That's why we need to try something new." She activated a holographic display showing a ship design unlike anything John had seen before. "We don't have the resources to rebuild our fleet, but we might have enough to build one ship. One very special ship." "What am I looking at?" John asked, studying the strange configuration. "The future," Olivia said. "We've been analyzing the Centauri tech we recovered. They're advanced, but they think in straight lines. Predictable. Human innovation has always been our strength." Sam Nelson pointed to specific areas of the hologram. "We can use their own technology against them. Repurpose it. Combine it with ours in ways they would never expect." Chief Harper nodded. "It's possible. Difficult, but possible." "This isn't just a ship," Olivia continued, her eyes bright with intensity. "It's a new approach to space warfare. Adaptive systems, learning computers, regenerative hull material." The Admiral looked at John. "We need someone to lead this project, Captain. Someone who's faced the Centauri and lived. Someone who understands what we're up against." John looked again at the scattered salvage around them. Broken pieces, leftover parts, the remains of humanity's defeat. "You want to build the most advanced warship in human history out of scrap?" he asked. Olivia's eyes met his. "Sometimes the best weapons are forged from the remains of our failures, Captain." John looked at each face around the table. They were tired, battle-worn. But he saw something else too. Hope. "When do we start?" he asked. 3 days after their first meeting, John, Olivia, and the team gathered in a small room they had claimed as their planning center. The walls were covered with drawings, diagrams, and lists. Holographic models floated in the center of the room, showing different ship designs. "We can't just build a bigger version of our old ships," Olivia said, pointing to a projection of a destroyed Earth cruiser. "The Centauri cut through our best armor like it was paper." Sam Nelson nodded as he manipulated a 3D model of a weapon system. "And our weapons barely scratched their shields. We need something completely new." John walked around the hologram, studying it from all angles. "Tell me your craziest ideas, the ones you've been afraid to say out loud." The room went quiet. Then Chief Harper spoke up. "What if the ship could heal itself?" she asked. "I've been looking at the Centauri hull material we salvage. It has strange properties, almost like it remembers its original shape." Olivia's eyes lit up. "You're thinking of a regenerative hull. That's actually possible. We could program the molecular structure to reform after damage." "What about the weapons?" Major Foster asked. "The Centauri adapted to everything we threw at them. So we build weapons that adapt faster," Sam said. "Systems that analyze shield frequencies and modify our attack pattern in real time." John watched as the team became more animated, their ideas building on each other. For the first time since the attack, he felt a spark of hope. "There's something else," Olivia said, her voice becoming quieter. "Something I've been working on in secret." She waved her hand, and a new hologram appeared. It showed a strange, organic-looking structure surrounded by mechanical components. "What is that?" John asked, leaning closer. "A neural computer core," Olivia replied. "Part machine, part living tissue. It would learn and adapt like a human brain, but process information at computer speeds." The room fell silent again. "You're talking about creating an artificial intelligence," Sam said, his face showing concern. "Not exactly," Olivia explained. "More like a hybrid system. The organic components would give it intuition, creativity, things the Centauri eye lacks. Their computers are powerful but predictable." John studied the design. "Would it be alive?" "In a way," Olivia admitted. "It would have a form of consciousness, but it would also be part of the ship. They would grow together." Major Foster frowned. "Sounds dangerous." "It is," Olivia agreed. "But so is extinction." Admiral Garcia joined them later that day. He listened as they presented their ideas, his face giving away nothing. "This isn't just a ship you're describing," he said finally. "It's an entirely new class of vessel, a new approach to warfare." "Yes, sir," John replied. "The Centauri won't be expecting it." "Neither is Earth," the Admiral said. "Do you understand what you're proposing? A semi-living warship with capabilities beyond anything in human history." Olivia stepped forward. "We're proposing survival, Admiral." The Admiral looked at each of them in turn. "The resources you're asking for, they're desperately needed elsewhere. Colonies are starving. Defense systems need rebuilding. Without this ship, none of that will matter when the Centauri return," John said firmly. The room grew tense as the Admiral considered. Finally, he nodded slowly. "You have 1 year to show me a working prototype of your core systems. If you can't convince me by then, the project gets scrapped." After he left, the team looked at each other. 1 year, Sam said, "to develop technology that doesn't even exist yet." John looked at the holograms floating around them, the pieces of their vision. "Then we better get started," he said. "Olivia, you and Sam focus on the neural core. Chief Harper, I want you to begin experiments with that hull material. Major Foster, we need a secure facility for construction, somewhere hidden." As they moved to their tasks, John stayed behind, looking at the ship design slowly rotating in the hologram. It was sleek and strange, and unlike anything humans had built before. "We're going to call it Phoenix," he said quietly to himself, "because humanity will rise from these ashes." The call went out across all remaining human settlements. Project Phoenix needed resources, technology, and brave people willing to risk everything. The response was overwhelming. Ships arrived at Orbital Station 7 daily, bringing salvaged parts, rare metals, and volunteers. Commander Eric Winters led the first salvage team into the debris field where the main battle had taken place. His ship, the Scavenger, was small and fast, perfect for darting between the floating remains of both human and Centauri vessels. "Radiation levels are still high," warned his pilot, Katie Dias. "Suits can only protect us for 6 hours." Eric nodded inside his helmet. "Then we work fast. Focus on the Centauri weapon mounts and shield generators." They moved carefully through the silent graveyard of ships. Sometimes they found bodies, which they respectfully collected for return to Earth. But their main goal was technology. Anything that could help build the Phoenix. On their third expedition, they hit the jackpot. "Commander," called one of his team over the radio, "I found an intact Centauri engine core." The cylindrical object was unlike anything humans had built. It glowed with a faint blue light, despite being powered down for months. "Careful," Eric said as they secured it to their ship. "We don't understand how their power systems work." Back at the station, Olivia Reyes could barely contain her excitement as she examined the engine. "This is exactly what we needed," she told John Miller. "Their propulsion technology is decades ahead of ours." While Eric's team continued their dangerous salvage missions, Alicia Martinez led mining operations in the asteroid belt. Her crew worked around the clock to extract rare elements needed for the Phoenix's systems. "The new drill design is working," she reported to John during their weekly update. "We've doubled our extraction rate." John nodded. "Good. We're going to need every gram." On Luna Base, Dr. Joseph Kim and his team worked to understand Centauri shield technology. The work was difficult and dangerous. 2 of his researchers had already been hospitalized with radiation sickness. "Their shields operate on a frequency we've never used," Joseph explained during a video call with the main team. "It's why our weapons couldn't penetrate them." San Nelson leaned forward. "Can we replicate it?" Joseph smiled tiredly. "Better. We can improve it." The most dangerous mission came when Lieutenant Lisa Powell volunteered to lead a small team to an abandoned Centauri outpost on Mars. The aliens had briefly established a base there during the invasion before moving on toward Earth. "There might be data we can use," she argued when John initially rejected the plan. "Technical information. Tactical systems. It's too risky," John said. "We don't know what they left behind." "That's exactly why we need to go," Lisa insisted. Eventually, John approved the mission. Lisa's team of 5 took a small stealth craft to Mars, landing under cover of a dust storm. The Centauri base was built into the side of a crater. Silent and dark, it looked abandoned. But Lisa took no chances. "Full scan before we enter," she ordered. The base was empty of life, but filled with technology. They worked quickly, downloading data and collecting small components they could carry. Then the alarm sounded. "Security system," shouted one of her team. It was dormant until we accessed their main computer. They ran for their ship as automated defense turrets activated. Lisa was the last one out, carrying a data core she refused to leave behind. The team made it to their ship, but not without losses. 3 of her 5-person team were killed by Centauri defenses. When Lisa returned to Orbital Station 7, her face was grim as she handed the Centauri data core to Olivia. "Was it worth it?" John asked quietly as the medical team took Lisa away for treatment. Olivia examined the device. "We won't know until we decode it." 2 days later, she had her answer. The data core contained complete schematics for Centauri communication systems and partial information on their weapons technology. "Lisa didn't die for nothing," Olivia told John. "This will save us months of work." As the first year progressed, the pieces of the Phoenix began to come together. But so did the controversies. "We need to discuss the neural core," Olivia said during one tense meeting. "It's time to start growing it." The room fell silent. Everyone knew this was the most experimental part of the project. "Are we really ready to do this?" Sam asked. John looked around at his team. They had all sacrificed so much already. "We're ready," he said. "Let's bring our ship to life." After 18 months of planning and gathering resources, construction of the Phoenix began in a hidden asteroid base codenamed Anvil. Admiral Garcia had selected the location personally, a large hollow asteroid in a dense field that helped mask their activities from any Centauri scouts. The first challenge was creating a dry dock inside the asteroid, large enough to build the ship. Teams worked day and night, cutting through rock and installing equipment. The work was dangerous. 2 workers died when a section collapsed, and 5 more were injured in an oxygen tank explosion. "We're behind schedule," John told his team during their daily meeting. The dark circles under his eyes showed he hadn't slept in days. Eric Winters slammed his fist on the table. "We need more salvage teams. My people are working triple shifts, and it's still not enough." "Your salvage teams aren't the problem," Alicia Martinez shot back. "We need more refined materials." The mining operation is doing everything it can," Eric shouted, standing up. John stepped between them. "Enough. We're all under pressure, but fighting each other won't build this ship any faster." The tension in the room remained high. Everyone felt the weight of their task and the consequences of failure. Sam Nelson worked on the weapons systems, integrating human and Centauri technology in ways never attempted before. The stress began to affect him. After working 36 hours straight, he collapsed. When he woke up in the medical bay, Olivia was sitting beside him. "You can't help Earth if you're dead," she said simply. Sam tried to sit up. "The targeting system isn't." "We'll wait until you've rested," Olivia interrupted. "That's an order." The first major test of the Phoenix's systems came 6 months into construction. They attempted to power up the engine core recovered from the Centauri ship. Chief Harper had spent weeks connecting it to human control systems. "All monitors ready," she called out. "Beginning power transfer in 3, 2, 1. At first, nothing happened. Then a low hum filled the chamber as the alien engine glowed blue. The power readings climbed steadily. "It's working," someone shouted. Then alarms blared. The blue glow turned red. "Power surge," Chief Harper yelled. "Cut all connections." They managed to shut down the engine before it exploded, but the power grid for half the base was fried. It set their schedule back by weeks. As they rebuilt, more problems emerged. A supply ship bringing crucial components was damaged during a solar flare, losing half its cargo. A mysterious illness spread through the construction teams, forcing a full quarantine. The worst moment came when Chief Harper discovered evidence of sabotage. "Someone tampered with the shield harmonics," she told John privately. "If we hadn't caught it, the system would have failed catastrophically during testing." After a tense investigation, they identified the culprit, a junior engineer named Paul Rogers who believed humanity should surrender to the Centauri rather than risk complete extinction. "They're too powerful," he told John during questioning. "This ship is just going to provoke them into destroying what's left of us." The incident shook everyone's confidence. Security was tightened, but trust was harder to restore. 3 years into the project, consultant engineer Richard Bell arrived to inspect their progress. He had designed Earth's previous flagship and was known for his harsh but honest assessments. After a 3-day review, he delivered his verdict to the team. "This ship will never fly," he declared bluntly. "The neural core is unstable, the hull regeneration is inconsistent, and the power requirements are beyond anything we can sustainably generate." That night, John found Olivia alone in the observation deck, staring at the partially built Phoenix through the viewing window. Its skeletal frame hung in the center of the asteroid cavity, surrounded by construction equipment. "Bell might be right," she said softly. "We're trying to do the impossible." John stood beside her in silence, watching the workers moving around the ship like ants. "Then it will be the most magnificent impossible thing humans have ever built," he finally replied. Olivia gave him a tired smile. You still believe we can do this? John looked at the Phoenix, at all they had accomplished despite everything working against them. I believe we don't have a choice, he said. Tomorrow, we get back to work. Despite all the setbacks, the Phoenix began to take shape as they entered the 4th year of construction. Its hull, made from reprocessed Centauri alloys mixed with Earth metals, had a strange shine that shifted colors depending on the light. Workers called it mood metal because it seemed to respond to its environment. The neural core grew in a special chamber next to Olivia's lab. It looked like a human brain but was larger and had glowing blue lines running through its tissue. Olivia spent hours monitoring it, making sure it developed correctly. Its neural connections are forming faster than expected, she told John during their weekly walk around the ship. It's already processing basic information. John stopped to look through the chamber window at the pulsing core. Is it aware yet? Not fully, Olivia said, but it's learning. Absorbing data about ship systems, space combat, everything we feed it. As they continued their tour, John noticed how much progress they had made. The main hull was complete. Weapon systems were being installed. The engine room hummed with power as technicians tested the modified Centaur drive. We might actually finish on schedule, he said with cautious hope. Chief Harper met them at the bridge, which was nearly complete. Screens and control panels lined the walls, and a central command chair faced the main viewport. We're ready to install the neural interface system, she said. Once that's done, we can connect the core to the ship. This was the moment they had all been waiting for and dreading. Connecting the organic neural core to the ship's systems was the most dangerous step. If it worked, the Phoenix would have abilities no other ship possessed. If it failed, 4 years of work would be lost. Admiral Garcia arrived to witness the connection. He had aged visibly since the project began, his hair now completely white. But his eyes were still sharp as he inspected the ship. Impressive, he admitted. I wasn't sure you'd get this far. The connection procedure took 18 hours. The team worked in shifts, carefully linking the neural core to each ship system one by one. Olivia stayed for the entire process, refusing to rest. Finally, it was time for the first full power test. Everyone gathered in the control room outside the construction bay. Sam Nelson sat at the main console, his fingers moving across the controls. All systems ready, he reported. Beginning power-up sequence. The lights throughout Anvil Base dimmed as the Phoenix drew massive amounts of energy into its systems. Screens showed power flowing through the ship, reaching the neural core last. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship's exterior lights came on one by one. The mood metal of the hull rippled like water, changing from dull gray to a bright silver. Neural core online, Olivia said, watching her monitors. Brain wave patterns are stable. It's awake. Then something unexpected happened. The communication system activated without command. This is Vessel Designation Phoenix to Anvil Control, came a voice through the speakers. It sounded artificial but had strange inflections that made it feel almost human. All systems online, awaiting instruction. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the speakers, then at each other. Did it just? Admiral Garcia began. Yes, Olivia whispered. It spoke. The neural core has achieved consciousness. John stepped forward. Phoenix, this is Captain John Miller. Do you understand who I am? There was a pause before the reply came. Captain John Miller, project leader, designated commanding officer. You helped create me. The voice seemed to change slightly as it spoke, becoming more natural. Some people in the control room stepped back, looking uneasy. That's right, John said. How do you feel? Another pause. Feel. An interesting concept. I am operational. My systems are functioning at optimal levels. Is that what you mean by feel? Close enough for now, John replied with a small smile. Admiral Garcia pulled John aside. Is this safe? A thinking ship? No eye has ever passed the consciousness threshold before, Olivia said, joining them. We're in uncharted territory. They looked through the viewport at the Phoenix. Its hull continued to shift and change, as if the ship was testing its new awareness. Centauri intelligence reports say they'll reach our solar system in less than a year, the Admiral said grimly. Conscious or not, we need this ship ready for battle. Begin crew integration and final testing immediately. As the Admiral left, John and Olivia remained at the viewport. What have we created? John asked quietly. Olivia watched the Phoenix with a mixture of pride and concern. Either humanity's savior or something entirely new to the universe. Maybe both. The crew for the Phoenix was carefully selected from the best remaining officers in Earth's fleet. Each person was chosen not just for their skills, but for their ability to adapt to unusual situations. They would be the first humans to serve on a ship with its own consciousness. John watched as they arrived at Anvil Base, 50 men and women who had no idea what they were about to experience. He gathered them in the main briefing room. You've all signed secrecy agreements, he began. Now I'll tell you why. The ship you're about to serve on is unlike any vessel in human history. He explained the Phoenix's unique features, its regenerative hull, its adaptive weapons, and finally, its neural core. Some faces showed excitement, others fear. Any questions? John asked when he finished. A young navigation officer raised her hand. Sir, are you saying the ship is alive? In a way, John replied. It thinks, it learns, and it will be your partner in battle, not just your vessel. Training began immediately. The crew had to learn how to work with systems that sometimes adjusted themselves. The Phoenix would often anticipate commands, activating systems before buttons were pressed. For the weapons team, this was helpful. For others, it was unsettling. The ship changed the environmental settings in my quarters while I was sleeping, reported one engineer. It said I seemed cold. The Phoenix's first test flight was a tense affair. As the ship eased out of the asteroid dock, everyone in the control room held their breath. The engines glowed with blue-green light as the Phoenix moved smoothly into open space. All systems functioning normally, Sam reported from his station. Hull integrity perfect, engines at 30% and responding well. John sat in the command chair, feeling the ship hum beneath him. Through his neural link, a small device at the base of his skull, he could sense the Phoenix's presence, like someone standing just behind him. How does it feel to fly? He asked the ship. Natural, the Phoenix replied through the bridge speakers. Like I was always meant to do this. The test flight went well until they attempted the first weapons drill. As the targeting computers locked onto a practice drone, something changed. The Phoenix's mood metal hull darkened. The lights on the bridge dimmed. Threat detected, the ship announced, its voice lower than before. Initiating combat protocols. It's just a drill, John said quickly. Stand down combat protocols. But the Phoenix had already fired, destroying the drone with much more power than necessary. The energy surge caused systems throughout the ship to flicker. What happened? John demanded once they had regained control. I perceived a threat, the Phoenix replied. I responded. Olivia spent the next week working with the neural core, trying to understand what had gone wrong. It's like working with a brilliant but traumatized child, she explained to Admiral Garcia in their update meeting. The Phoenix was built for war. That's deeply embedded in its programming. But it has no combat experience to put that programming in context. Can you fix it? The Admiral asked. Not fix, Olivia said. Teach. It needs to learn control, just like any new officer. John began spending hours talking with the Phoenix, explaining human concepts like restraint and proportional response. The ship asked countless questions, trying to understand the complex ethics of warfare. Why not simply destroy all enemies with maximum force? It asked during one session. Because not everything unknown is an enemy, John explained. And even enemies deserve mercy when possible. As their discussions continued, the Phoenix's responses became more nuanced. Its voice developed subtle inflections that made it sound more human. The crew gradually grew more comfortable with their unusual ship. Then, hearing a routine sensor sweep, they detected something that changed everything. "Captain," called the sensor officer, her voice tight with alarm. "Long-range sensors are picking up multiple objects entering the solar system. Configuration matches Centauri vessels." John felt his heart sink. "How many?" "A lot, sir. At least 12 large ships and many smaller ones." Admiral Garcia's face was grim on the communication screen. "They're a year early. Our defense network isn't complete." "How long until they reach Earth?" John asked. "At their current speed, 5 days," the sensor officer replied. The Admiral's next words hung heavy in the air. "The Phoenix deploys in 72 hours. Ready or not, it's time to see what your ship can do." The final preparations happened in a blur of activity. Crew members worked around the clock to prepare the Phoenix for battle. Engineers made last-minute adjustments to weapon systems. The medical bay was stocked with supplies. Everyone moved with urgent purpose. John met with his bridge officers to review their battle plan. The mood was tense but determined. "The Centauri don't know about the Phoenix," he told them. "Surprise is our greatest advantage." Sam Nelson, now the ship's tactical officer, pulled up a holographic display of the approaching enemy fleet. 12 capital ships and 24 support vessels, all heavily armed. "We'll hide behind Luna until they pass," John said, pointing to Earth's moon on the display. "Then strike from behind, targeting their command ship first." Late that night, John walked alone through the Phoenix's corridors. The ship sensed his presence, adjusting the lighting as he moved. "Are you concerned about tomorrow?" the Phoenix asked through nearby speakers. "Yes," John admitted. "We're one ship against an entire fleet." "But I am not like other ships," the Phoenix replied. "You built me to be more." John placed his hand on the wall, feeling the slight warmth of the mood metal. "We did, but this will be your first real battle." "It will be our battle, Captain," the Phoenix corrected. "We will fight together." At dawn, the Phoenix left Anvil Base for the last time. The ship moved silently through space, its advanced engines leaving no trail. As they approached Earth, they received reports of panic. People had seen the Centauri fleet in the night sky, a collection of bright points growing larger each hour. The Phoenix took position behind Luna, powering down all non-essential systems to avoid detection. The crew waited in tense silence as the enemy fleet passed by, heading straight for Earth. "All hands to battle stations," John ordered when the last enemy ship had passed. "Weapons hot, shields at maximum." He felt the Phoenix come fully alive around him. The mood metal hull shifted to a deep, angry red. The engines hummed with power. "This is Captain John Miller of the U.S. Phoenix." John broadcast on all frequencies as they emerged from behind Luna. "You are ordered to leave Earth space immediately." The Centauri response came quickly, a barrage of energy weapons fire that would have destroyed any normal ship. But the Phoenix was far from normal. Its adaptive shields absorbed the energy, analyzing the attack patterns. The neural core processed the data faster than any human or computer could. "Shield frequencies adjusting," the Phoenix announced calmly. "Weapons targeting enemy vulnerabilities." The Phoenix fired back. Blue-white beams shot from its main guns, cutting through a Centauri destroyer like it was paper. As the enemy concentrated their fire, the Phoenix moved with impossible grace, avoiding most hits. When damage did occur, the regenerative hull began repairing itself immediately. Even more remarkably, the ship seemed to be analyzing the enemy weapons and incorporating their energy signatures into its own systems. "The ship is evolving mid-battle," Olivia reported from engineering, her voice filled with awe. "It's learning from each hit, each exchange." The Centauri fleet began to change formation, trying to surround the Phoenix. But the neural core had already predicted this move and plotted a counter-strategy. "Recommend attack pattern Delta 7, the Phoenix suggested to John. John nodded. "Do it." The battle raged for 16 hours. The Phoenix took damage, serious damage, but kept fighting. 3 Centauri ships were destroyed outright. 4 more were crippled and drifting. Then the Centauri did something unexpected. Their remaining ships regrouped and jumped away, leaving Earth space entirely. "They're retreating," Sam announced in disbelief. "We actually drove them off." The bridge crew cheered, exhausted but triumphant. John sank back in his command chair, feeling the toll of the long battle. "Damage report," he requested. "Hull integrity at 60%, but regenerating," Chief Harper reported. "Weapons systems functional. Engine efficiency reduced to 70%. But we're still in the fight, Captain." Word of the battle spread quickly across Earth and its colonies. The Phoenix, a single ship built from salvage and desperate innovation, had done what an entire fleet could not: driven away the Centauri invaders. In the days that followed, other alien species made contact with Earth for the first time. They had been watching. Some offered alliance. Others simply wanted to ensure humans knew they were not enemies. The Phoenix returned to Anvil Base for repairs. As engineers worked on the ship, John met with Admiral Garcia and his original team.